Hello, LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. This is my very first live on LinkedIn. So I'm really excited if you are watching me right now. And I will ask, will you do me a favor? Can you drop a comment below so I know that you're here? And if you have any questions throughout this quick live today, it won't be very long, maybe about 15 minutes. So please stay with me because I really want to share some information with you. And I do believe with my whole heart that if you learn about the gray areas in your life, because I promise you have at least one, we all do, that it will change the way that you look at them moving forward and you'll be able to do something about them. Okay. So stay with me. This will be short today. We will be doing these lives every single day this week on these three channels. So I hope that you'll join me. And today we're going to focus on, are you living in the gray, and why saying you're fine is a very dangerous thing. So you might be even asking, Carrie, what are the gray areas? What are these gray areas that you always talk about? Well, if you've been in my circle for any length of time, you might have seen that I've had quite a few gray areas in my life. And they are those areas in which you appear things are fine, but deep down, you know that they're not. They're robbing you from your energy, from your clarity. You're not being honest with yourself. Gray areas hide under the rug. We tend to brush them under the rug, so to speak, and we ignore them. And when we ignore these gray areas in our life, they compound over time. And even though they might not be bad in the beginning, over a period of time, they can get much worse. And I want to share this right up front. Being in a gray area is a choice. You get to be there or not. So we are going to dive into what some of those examples are in your life. And as I go through this today, I really want you to think about, where in your life are you experiencing those gray areas? Because like I said, we all have them, and they silently drain your life if you're not careful. So we really need to be careful with them. Like I said, they are danger zones for us. We need to be pay attention, and they hide. Here's where they hide. Okay. Let's start with the most prominent one, is our health, is our own bodies. Our body is your temple. It is, we have been granted dominion over our body. And when we ignore the truth behind what is happening, danger comes. Let me give you an example. When was the last time you've been to the doctor? Right? Have you noticed maybe your weight is starting to creep up? Maybe your habits are becoming out of control. Maybe the habits that you currently are doing, you know you should stop, but you're not, or you should cut back, but you're not. I'll start maybe next week, next month, next year, on New Year's Day, after this wedding, maybe right after this vacation, then I'll start working on the better habit and try to eliminate the habit that's stealing from me. So our habits are huge, and they hide within our health, but our health is a big one. And a lot of times we have things going on, especially as we get older, guys, especially as we get older. I'm in my, hate to say it, late 50s, and I am very in tune with what's happening with my body. How in tune are you with yours? So your health is one of the main areas that gray areas hide. And I really want you to pay attention. What about your energy? How about your sleep? How about your appearance, how you look? And I don't mean just, how you look on a day-to-day basis, but do you have that thriving energy look about you? Or are you just mulling through life because that's what you're supposed to do? That's the thing with gray areas. We kind of coast through life. There's no intention, no intentionality with everything that we do. And everything that I coach on, everything that I work with my clients on, is looking at the truth of their life. Where are those gray areas hiding? So health is number one. The second place that they most often hide is in our relationships. And I'm going to particularly talk about marriages here, because I've been married for a very long time. And my husband and I experienced a massive gray area in our relationship. And those gray areas look like this. Could be that you're living like roommates, that your connection is starting to dwindle. Maybe the conversation isn't, hey, babe, you want to go on a date night this weekend? Maybe it's turned into, whose turn is it to pick up the kids? Have you talked to our older son in a while? How about, did you get the laundry? Whose turn is it to go grocery shopping this week? If it feels like there's this kind of structure to it, or the lack thereof, and you're just existing together, that is a massive gray area. How connected to you or to your partner are you? What about your kids? I spend a lot of time with my clients on this, with their significant other and their children. And then outside of those two things, so if you're not married or have a significant other and you don't have children, what about your friends and your family? Are there gray areas? Are there conversations that are too hard to be had? So you ignore them. That's the thing about the gray areas. We just ignore those hard conversations, don't we? I'm guilty of that. I've been guilty of that in the past. And if you're honest, maybe you have too. So gray areas hide in our relationships, particularly with our marriage, if we're not careful and we're not fully invested in that partnership. And guess what? That can start affecting your health, right? So we need to be very keenly aware of those relationships. Another place they hide, which I already mentioned before, is our habits. Maybe it's alcohol. Maybe you're enjoying a cocktail every single night after work, or maybe you're even day drinking. Maybe it's one of those things where it didn't seem like a big deal, but now it becomes a big deal. Now you're starting to see that drink every night is starting to impact your sleep. It's starting to impact how you show up for yourself and others. And it's a trickle down effect. That was my story. I was a gray area drinker for a few years, and it started to impact other areas of my life. And if you're unsure what gray area drinking is, or that term is new to you, it is the wide spectrum that exists between someone who is socially drinking and somebody who is severely abusing alcohol. It is about 75 million people in the United States identify as being a gray area drinker. And though that is for those that even know what the term means. My guesstimation, it is much closer to 50% of the population that consumes alcohol may be in this gray area. So it is something to listen up and pay attention to, because while you're in this gray area, you still have a choice. Once you start moving out of that gray area into the darker shades of gray, you no longer have a choice anymore. So it's vital that you pay attention to those gray areas with alcohol and other habits. Maybe it's porn. Maybe you're addicted to porn. Maybe it's one of those things where the relationship isn't working out so well and you're not intimate with your partner anymore, so you're turning to porn. Maybe it's scrolling through your phone every night because you just can't deal with the reality of your life. Maybe it's watching TV and vegging out and binging on Netflix because it's a good way to escape. Any form of numbing becomes a severe gray area over time. Now, is it bad to watch TV? Of course not. We all want to watch a little TV from time to time, but it's when you start abusing it and you're using those things as a way to escape. They then become gray areas. Another place we see gray areas is with spirituality, your purpose, the connection that you have with something greater than yourself. If there's a disconnect, and there's been a disconnect, that's going to trickle down in all other areas in your life. Again, one gray area leads into the other, and it's going to affect all of your life if you're not careful. So we need to understand what your gray areas are in your spirituality. Now I want to shift and tell you about the hidden costs of those gray areas. This is a big one. I really want you to think about this. I have clients that have lost their marriages, have lost their kids that have lost their careers, that have lost their ability to do things on their own, if they weren't careful, we were able to catch it in time. So I want to share with you that there is a huge hidden cost in these gray areas if you let it go unnoticed and it becomes a bigger problem. It's like a snowball. We start a snowball, it might be this big, and before you know it, the lies that you're telling yourself, the truth behind what's really happening with these gray areas become bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, you have this huge snowball effect that is so big that it becomes over consuming in your life. And therefore, it no longer is a choice. And this, my friend, is where we get into trouble. So we need to be very in tune with what we're doing in terms of our gray areas. Maybe it's a loss of self-trust for yourself. Maybe you keep telling yourself over and over again, I'm going to do better next time. I'm going to try this week. I'm going to do it that week. And every time you tell yourself that you're going to do better, you know what ultimately ends up happening and you don't follow through? You're eroding your own self-confidence. Every time you don't follow through with your word to yourself, you're eroding your own confidence. If you can't trust you, who can? And it's the things that you do in private that matter most, that matter the most. When you stay true to you is when you gain confidence, you get the momentum. And it just takes a decision to make that choice. That's it. The other thing I want to say is when you are using habits and you're used to being in the gray, that numbing effect that you have and kind of going through life with no direction and no clarity, it becomes normal. It becomes who you are, which we're going to talk about that more tomorrow, about your identity and how big your belief system about yourself plays a huge role in your gray areas. I want to share with you that you don't need another book or a podcast to start working on these gray areas. What you need, my friend, is a way to work through those gray areas. And as we progress through this week, I'm going to be sharing something with you, which is the DECIDE method. I've taken hundreds of clients, including myself, through this methodology that works, that absolutely works. And tomorrow we're going to start going through the DECIDE method so I can share with you a proven, scientifically proven way that can help you bust through these gray areas so you can start living with clarity and confidence. That you can work on the gray areas of your habits like alcohol. You can work on your marriage or your significant other, your relationships in your life. It will help you with your career. It will help you with your finances. When you work on one thing, like I said, it snowballs into others. It's the trickle down effect. And I want to be able to help you through that. So tomorrow we'll be doing that indeed. Tomorrow's live, by the way, is going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. On Wednesday, the 26th, I'll be live at 12 noon. Again, this is all Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Thursday will be at 2 p.m. and Friday is 12 noon again, all Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I hope you enjoyed this live today, and I want to share with you. I would love for you to go to the website, graytonic.com, and I want you to check out the Decide 30 program that is starting April 1st. This is the actual URL that you'll see running at the bottom, but if you go to my website, graytonic.com, you will see up at the top the Decide 30 program. Please go check out the info page. This is a proven program that works. And there's plenty of testimonials on there that will help you decide if now is the time for you to work through these gray areas or not. You already know the answer. You already do. The fact that you're even watching this right now tells me that you already know what you need to do. It's just a matter of facing your own truth for yourself. And I really, really hope that you're able to do that. You don't need to do it alone. It's awesome to have somebody that's walking alongside of you, to be in a community, to hold you accountable, to call you out, to look at the truth. And yeah, and it feels a little scary at times, right? We got to pull out this big spotlight and put it on ourselves and see what it is that's under the hood. And once you do, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And my goal for you is for you to live with purpose and clarity and design a life that you want to live. Make your life what you want it. If you're close to my age, if you're over 50, there is only so much time left. And I want you to be able to capitalize on it every way that you can. But it begins with a decision. And I hope that you will decide, because gray areas are choices. And I want you to be able to make that choice for yourself while you can. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. right back here, the same channel. And I hope you have an amazing day ahead. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.